Hello again, Struck Co-op. Today I'm bringing you some good and some bad news for Witchfire, a shooter game, FPS designed by the astronauts. The good news is the game um, will be getting a full open world experience rather than just being split into zones with loading times and so on. But due to this redesign, due to redesigning a core feature, mind you, of the game needs a little bit more time to be proper when we get early access. And now, instead of late 2022, it will be early 2023. So yeah, let's just read some of the stuff from their blog post. They're saying we're aiming for Q4 2022, but we will not release, not even in early access, until we're happy with what we have. You only have the chance to make a first impression, and we respect your time and money. And yes, that was their philosophy that they set in the summer during the Summer Game Fest trailer blog post. So it's only the second week of quarter for 2022, but I'm here early to tell you we are not going to launch to early access in quarter for 2022. We are now aiming for early 2023. That is three early words in one paragraph. And he said, no, wait for. So yeah, this is me just quoting. Usually games miss their target date simply because developers underestimate the time needed to make a good game. It's as simple as this. While we have not 100% committed to a day, month, or even a year, we can also admit that we will release later than anticipated. However, in our case, the reason is different. And that reason is we have redesigned the core experience of the game. Well, not all of it, but a certain crucial element nonetheless. Then he further goes on to say, to be clear, Witchfire is still a rogue-lite, dark fantasy first-person shooter. That did not and will not change. But the way the player experiences the world has changed significantly. We've upgraded combat and exploration from arena style to semi-open world style, and that took time. I'm assuming semi-open world style, do they mean like Borderlands with loading screens? um, Compared to like more Quake-ish experience, we'll see. They're saying, I honestly thought that if we were ever late, it would be because we tried to make a game that was too big or too complex for a small team like ours. Well, that is somewhat the case. There's a pretty big chance we would have released in a month or two if not for the redesign. All right, so what that redesign encompasses. Let's see what they say. They're saying originally Witchfire offered you these vast regions to play through in a specific, very roguelite way. You enter an arena, fight some monsters, and then have a choice. Take this reward and go left, or take that reward and go right. Aha. So typical roguelite experience. That's how it was before. Hey, this is a good example of this approach. So yeah, they had something like Hades. There are many roguelites and rogue-likes with such designs, from The Binding of Isaac through Slay the Spire to Returnal. Basically, the game world in such games is a series of connected areas, each with 2, 3, or 4 exits. Yes, I understand that. So it was like that before, but now it no longer is, which is amazing that they decided to scrap that. But how did it work in Witchfire? Don't we have, as I just said it earlier, vast regions? Well, here's where magical barriers enter the play. 2 years ago, in one of the updates, the developer wrote, we need a barrier system. Basically, in games like Painkiller or Devil May Cry, see the example image below, blah blah blah, magical barriers appear blocking you from leaving the current arena. Even Soulsborns do it for bosses with the mist. And the barriers made sense. They helped control the flow of the game, and war-wise, they were witches' traps. They were invisible from far away and only materialized when the player got pretty close to the edge of the combat area. So they were not obstructing the view and never got in the way, well, other than blocking the player from progressing until enemies were dealt with. In theory, then we had the best of both worlds, barriers that served the roguelite gameplay while being kind of invisible. And he goes on to say, let me share a secret now. One additional idea we had and prototype was working great was that every new area finished by the player was merged with all the previously conquered ones. So imagine starting the game in the camp near the castle, then fighting on the bridge, then entering the castle hall. Because at this point both the camp and bridge are yours, you could retreat from castle hall, have enemies follow you through bridge to camp, and fight them over there. But you could only retreat to the previously conquered territories, never push forward, because barriers, still the feature, was something we have not seen before and was quite fun. A couple of months ago, this person thought and realized that he hated the barriers. Sure, they made sense, blah blah, but they felt old school, looked kind of bad, and limited the potential of the game. I knew I could not stand them anymore. And here is another quote. Look, guys, we have these beautiful open regions, but during combat, it's all merely a decoration. It's fake. I can't use the environment to the max because I am limited by the barriers. I propose we remove them and redesign the game for that semi open world experience. Almost everybody protested. Barriers are fine. We are too close to the early access release. This is too much for the player to handle. You get the idea. Then a person called Caro, who designed a lot of the game and implemented most of the gameplay, was protesting the most furiously. He argued that redesigning and rewriting all the systems connected to combat and traversal will take months, and it is not clear that the outcome will be even worth it. However, the book writer, I'm assuming this might be the CEO of the game, I guess we'll find out soon. He was not only a seasoned designer, but was also a lead and only programmer for quite a few years early in his career. So, looking at the systems and what they had, he felt that he was overreacting, and the task was very much doable and relatively easy and fast. So he goes on to say, I was of course wrong, and Carol was right. Clusterfuck is maybe too strong of a word, but things were going neither smoothly nor fast, and whatever little we had was indeed just bad. After almost 2 months, I was ready to give up. I asked Carol if maybe we should go back to the barriers. I expected an easy yes, because he was clearly not a fan of the new direction. Instead, he replied with, no, hold on, I'm actually seeing potential in this. And I knew he was having fun again, and if he was having fun, we were on the right track after all. So the new direction was not cancelled, and we continued working on it. To give you a small example of why this feature was a pain to develop, with the barriers, you trap the player, spawn the monsters, and voila, either they kill the player or the player kills them, the barriers go down, and we can move to the next area. Clean, under supreme control, easy. With a semi-open world, the player can enter the area, spawn the monsters, then escape. Should the enemies stay? Should they follow? But what if the player runs to another new area and triggers even more spawns? Should both groups of monsters merge? If so, what reward should the player get? One from the new area or from the old one, or both? If both, isn't it basically an incentive to run away to a cave and kite enemies to a narrow corridor? And what about the player just running amok and triggering one area after another? Can the game handle 100 enemies at once? Certainly not. So what do we do? Despawn, freeze those behind walls, etc., etc. Hundreds of questions that needed answering, hundreds of small solutions that needed implementing. The feature is now 95% implemented. It makes the game better. It is kind of hard for me to imagine the player did not have that freedom before. Sure, you can still be trapped by the witch in this or that spot, and some doors will be closed until you find the key, and it might be too dangerous to enter areas closer to the boss before you're ready. But the world is wide open for you to explore in almost any order, and you can both push forward and retreat as you please. It's funny, but the whole thing made this fantasy game more realistic. But yeah, the cost of this is we're not ready with the game just yet. We have lost a few months with the redesign and are only now back on track with the regular development. The good news, a great programmer and designer joined us recently, so the team got a bit bigger, and that should help keep the development nice and steady. Last but not least, expect something nice in a week or two. Let's go with Witchfire Halloween week. It won't be any gameplay footage or stream or such, but if you're interested in the story and the world and great 2D art, it's going to be a treat. My guess here is there will be some key art wallpapers and stuff like that. Uh, Halloween themed kind of gory horror stuff. We'll see. Hopefully, it gets enough publicity for us to notice it. Question of the week. Facebook or Twitter, we keep seeing this question. Any chance for Steam release? And he goes on to say, we already said it when announcing that early access is exclusive to Epic Game Store, but of course some people might have missed the message. So here it goes again. After early access phase, we will release on other platforms. Epic is fine. Epic Game Store is fine. We like our cooperation, he goes on to say. But the choice of where to buy Witchfire is yours. If you want to support us and play the early access version, it is coming to Epic Games Store soon. if you prefer Steam, or maybe you don't even play on PC and want a console version, just please wait a little longer until the game is done. As simple as this. And they keep saying peace at the end. Well, yes, this is by Adrian or Adrian Chmiewers. Sorry if I'm butchering Adrian's name. Adrian Chmiewers, he probably someone up high on the studio, in charge of a lot of things. But I really liked reading this. I hope this information, me reading it and you hearing me read it and talk about it is good. I personally always have said I'd rather have a game be delayed, but when we get it, be in the state it needs to be. Sure, that's gonna be early access, so it's still not gonna be full and finished, and it's still gonna have some things to iron out when it comes out. But I'd rather wait until early 2023 instead of getting it late 2022, but in an awful state. So hopefully in 2023, in early 2023, we get a decent, reasonable early access, not some early alpha, but more like a late beta of the game that we can help shape up with some feedback. So that's it for today about Witchfire. Hopefully that was useful information. To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer want to be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end. Struck up, keep it cool until next time, and goodbye.